So we are. Okay. Hello, ladies. Hello.
Hey,
Hey. So here we go again. Hi, everyone who is joining us on social media, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Instagram. This is Dr. Nadia Monique Johnson, founder and CEO of the Black Women's Mental Health Institute. And this is our last Voting Matters to Our Mental Health social media live discussion before our historic election that takes place next week, Tuesday. And I'm excited to do this discussion with two phenomenal women, two powerhouses, two sister friends, two advocates, two activists, two organizers, two women that I love to be in the trenches with because we do some powerful work, if I do say so myself. I am excited to have Miss Nia Weeks, who is with Citizens She United. She says a New Orleans girl, but who is live streaming with us today from the beautiful Ghana. What part of Ghana, Nia?
Right now I'm in Accra at at a Black woman-owned spa, which is the best spa in Ghana. So I'm gonna get this life together, and then I'm gonna get that other life together.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you need. Hey, you know what? You need all that self care before next week. We need to get all of that. I am
You better
here.
brag different, honey.
I know. I know.
Mental health and voting.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's good for your mental health. Get the spa treatment in, and then send us that information so we can figure out how to make our way over there too. And then we have the beautiful Miss Fenika Miller, who is joining us from, I don't know where you are now, honey, because you're usually in Atlanta, right? I think you're in Birmingham now.
I'm in Atlanta now. I'm back in Georgia. I just left Alabama, so I am here at the amazing offices of the Blackest team in America.
Now, let me tell you what love is. Love is knowing your friend was coming through and not being upset that she was too busy to hit you up. Like, she's like, oh, I was just in Birmingham. Really, sis? I knew you were coming. I just didn't know when.
Did you want to get on the bus and go to work? Because
you could have put you on that bus.
If I roll you on that bus, you got to do something.
You already know any day of the week. If you call and you could put me to work, you don't even have to ask. You could just call and be like, okay, Nadia, I need you to go over here and do this and be ready for this. And I'm going to show up as long as I'm not somewhere else, which probably 9 times out of 10 I was probably somewhere else. So
there we go.
I see, it all comes together. Mm-hmm. But with Black Voters Matters, who's doing this phenomenal work, we still got a lot of ground to cover before Tuesday, a lot of conversations to have, a lot of people to energize. We got to get these numbers out. We got to get these votes out. We got to get people inspired, energized. We got to get folks to the polls to vote. So this Voting Matters to Our Mental Health, I'm going to tell you, we've had different topics over the last few weeks when we've had these discussions. Most recently, and this is something that came up when someone was asking if we could, kind of squeeze this in today. It's the concept of voter trauma, right? So a lot of the reluctance, a lot of the apprehension, a lot of the disillusionment around the Black vote is this idea of my country doesn't love me. My vote doesn't count anyway. It's rigged. It's a setup. All of these things. And what one of our partners who joined us, Ray Green, he's with my brother's keeper out of Sacramento. When he was on one of these calls with us, he said something along the lines of, and Nia, you said something similar, is if our vote didn't matter, they wouldn't be fighting so hard to keep it away from us. That's right. And so really keeping that in the back of our minds is like, no, your vote isn't meaningless. It isn't pointless. It is not rigged. And because if it was, there would be so much strategy to kind of take that vote and your voice away. So I'm gonna just go ahead and let's start the conversation right there. It's just when you're both hearing this in the work that you're doing, What are some of your responses? How do you really get individuals to move past this idea of your vote not meaning anything and really holding on to this idea that no, I have power by going to the poll?
Mhm.
Mhm.
Well, Fenika, I know you can probably echo this too, but voter suppression is a thing, and it's increased tremendously, since 2017, and we're in a post-Shelby era, right? And so post-Shelby is because all the legislation that happened with the Voting Rights Act that said these are the things that states have to do in order to not suppress Black vote. That's been dismantled because they're going to reinstitute new ideas that are more modern. They just haven't done it, right? And so since then, we have had multiple instances. I think, well, I'm back up 3 years ago, it was like 700 types of ways that voter suppression was occurring, which is a crazy number. And that was back then, right? So there's all these crazy things happening trying to suppress the vote. But the best way to suppress a vote is to make someone believe their vote doesn't matter.
Mhm.
Because if you believe your vote doesn't matter, then you're not going to show up. Then there's nothing to litigate. There's no evidence. There's no circumstantial spaces that prove that we can go back and say, this happened illegally, this happened wrong. We can't fight for you because you didn't show up. And so all the things that are put around getting people to believe exactly what you said, Nadia, that my vote doesn't matter. And it does, because
Mhm.
elections, statewide elections, city elections, national elections, they're not won by billions of votes. They're won by one or two votes. They're won
Mhm.
by a car of people. If you would have just brought your family over, this person would have won. If you had just brought your congregation over, this policy would have looked differently in your community. And so votes are decided by one or two votes. Your vote will change not just the election, but the outcome of your life. And
Mhm.
so getting you to believe that is part of the strategy. It's probably the biggest part of the strategy because it's the cheapest and the easiest one to navigate.
Mhm. Mhm.
I'm gonna toss it to you, Fanika, because I know you've seen this across the board with all your travels.
Listen, because I have the privilege of working with Black Voters Matter, I get to see it up close and personal every single day. And we are, a national voting rights organization, but also a capacity and a power building organization. And, our mission is to expand one Black voter engagement, but to increase our political power.
Mm.
We believe that Black voters matter everywhere, not just in urban areas, but in rural areas and small towns and places that candidates, elected officials, folks often ignore. But also in those rural places, that is where we see, you know, the most egregious acts of voter suppression, intimidation, that is impacting our folks. We know and we have affirmed and we say all the time that Black voters have power. And as you said, Nia, if we didn't have that power, then they wouldn't try to take it from us. Back in 2020, when Georgia and our country and Black voters, we shook up the world, right? Because we delivered not only the presidency, but two Senate seats, and everybody in this country, the states and the territories benefited from that and are benefiting from it now. And we see the pushback. We see the historic rise of voter suppression bills that sought to expand criminalization and intimidate, against voting policy, restricting access to the ballot, making power grabs around Board of Elections takeovers, mass challenges, line warming, just not even being able to give folks a drink of water in a long line, right? And so that has an impact on not only our psyche, because not only have Black people historically had to put this democracy on our shoulders and carry it and make it, help to evolve it into the space where we are now, but we also always have to keep our heads on a swivel, like from internal to external. And then all of the policies and the things that are coming at us, we are constantly looking, seeking, how can we shield ourselves? How can we gird ourselves up? How can we protect ourselves from these attacks? And even in spite of like 2024 tactics, 2020 tactics, those things are not new. That is historic and embedded into the DNA of this country.
Mm.
But we still rise. We are still fighting back. That's what our theme is this year. When our healthcare is under attack, when our jobs are under attack, when our families are under attack, when our pocketbooks are under attack, when clean water, clean air, environmental issues are under attack, what do? We stand up and we fight back. And that's what Black people have been doing throughout the beginning of time.
That's so real, Fenika. And it's really interesting, Nadia. You said I'm in Ghana, and you know what's happening in Ghana right now?
But
Presidential election, and it is incredible to be in a space, a Black space, that is so deeply entrenched in their politics. I can't get in an Uber without them debating what president should be in place and why, and the policies that are in place. And I was in one Lyft yesterday, and the women were talking about one thing, and the guy goes, "Prove it to me. Show me that you're right." And then they didn't prove to him that that they were right, and so they're going back and forth. I mean, the whole country is on fire about the impact of their leadership on education, on healthcare. I'm learning so many different policies that are in place, and watching a new democracy get this favor that Black folks have, like you said, Fenika, have always had. We have always cared about our families. We have always cared about our environment. We have always cared about criminal justice reform. And sorry, there's people are leaving this spa right now. They on fire too. But see, but that's the balance, right? As we're having this conversation, there's still Black joy happening around us, and there will always be Black joy around us. There will always be Black folks fighting around us. It's what we do. We find that space. Okay, this is messed up, and we've got to put all of our space behind it. But I also got to enjoy my life, because I'm not just fighting for the policy. I'm fighting for my right to enjoy the time that I am here and enjoy the people that I'm here with. And so, and that's where I'm so glad you're doing the mental health and voting, Nadia, because that is what we do. That is who we are. We're going to have a party regardless of who wins. We're going to eat some good food. We're going to say a lot of prayers. You know what I'm saying? We're going to do all the things necessary for us to take care of our community, our families, and ourselves.
Yeah. I love the way you said that, because it's like it's the difference between striving and surviving, surviving and thriving. Like, it's like literally, we're not just voting to get the bare minimum. We're voting so we can thrive, so that we can enjoy life, so that it's not just so that we can eat. We should be able to eat. It's not just to fight for the security of those things. It's to have those things and still be able to have a little moment to breathe. That's right. To not just constantly be striving and constantly be fighting. Here's another thing that I think has gotten a lot of attention in this election, and y'all know what I'm going to talk about. It's win with Black women, right? Because that has been a whole thing. And I know as nonprofit organizations and being nonpartisan and all of these things, even outside of that kind of a conversation, you cannot shy away from. Neither has New York Times, neither has New York or Times Magazine, neither has Washington Post, neither has Forbes magazine, neither have all the national publications turned a blind eye to the immense amount of power, influence, and impact that Black women have always had. But now they're seeing it a different way, right? The Black women are the reason that we're calling this the Zoom election, right? Because of the way Black women have been shutting down Zooms every Sunday, shutting them down, right? And not and organizing, right? Like we're good, and it's important to get together and socialize and engage and be safe spaces to bounce ideas off of. That space is that. But that space is action oriented, right? It's not like, yeah, let's come together, let's talk, let's speak into each other and give life to each other. But now what we gonna do? And where's the money going to come from for us to do that? And let's go ahead and put this, into action, and boom, boom, boom. And let's, this person, great. I know that person, great. I know this person, great. This is literally what we do. So I want to speak to that, because Fenika, you were talking about, Black people, this is what we do. But let's take a second to just talk about what Black women do in these types of political spaces.
Listen, you front and center. From an Ella Baker, from a Harriet Tubman, from a Fannie Lou Hamer, from a Sister Maya Angelou, to a Shirley Chisholm, to a Joe Taker Edie, right? who has shut the internets down. You hear what I'm saying? And not only did she shut it down this cycle, but she's been shutting it down, and she's been consistently on point, creating space for Black women to just be and just to exist in this mechanism, and to use the power of our organizing strategy, the bringing the best and the brightest together to convene in a space to make the magic happen. You understand? To apply pressure to make sure that there is the first Black woman vice president of the United States.
Yes.
Apply
Yes.
pressure to make sure that we have the first Black woman Supreme Court justice, right? And so I just want to take a minute to lift up that sister, say her name
Yes.
again, Joteka Edie, for creating that space. I've been a part of that movement since 2020, but yeah, we busted at the seams now. You understand?
Mhm. Mhm.
And it's a
Mhm.
beautiful thing, right? But in time and time again, we talk about Black women and girls all the time. That's how the three of us connected, right? In that space. And how Black women need to be seen, to be felt, to be protected, to be heard, to be centered. And she is doing that on another level. And it was never more needed in this season than it is now. And to be the model for all of the Zoom and the virtual organizing that is happening, y'all, it just shows how much stronger we are together, but just the collective power of Black women to lead this country. There's never been a time that we are more primely positioned to lead than in this moment. And to have the numbers of Black women, of brown women, of white women, of girls, of first time new voters, of brothers, of just all the myriad rainbows of people who are coming together to keep the wind behind our backs in this space. And a Black woman did that. Black
A
women
Black
did.
woman did that. A
Yes,
Black woman. So
yes.
first of all, I need the T-shirt that says a Black woman did that, right? And then I need the other T-shirt that says apply pressure. I need both of them
Okay, I
T-shirts
want the
on.
apply pressure T-shirt because that part and like I need those T-shirts too.
Yes,
I do need those
yes. We
T-shirts
need to.
too.
We
Let's
got to
make
get on.
that happen.
So we're
Let's
gonna hook
let's,
it
let's
up.
make that happen.
I love it.
We're
But
gonna have to do.
Fenika, I want to piggyback off of what you said about the new voters and the young voters. My daughter Peyton, it was her first time voting in a presidential election. You know what I'm saying? And like she was so geeked about the idea of participating in this country that way. And and she, she's in New York, and her friends strategize on, do we vote in New York? Do we vote go back home? Like, where do we register? Like there was a whole ideology centered around not just how to utilize my vote, but where to utilize my vote in the most strategic way. And so I was really proud of that. I also want to highlight that both of you all were part of us doing the docu-series that we did in 2020, Black Voters Matter, funded that, thank y'all so much for all that support. Nadia, when the Birmingham episode, that was, you are credited as a consultant and a producer on that one, because that's exactly what you did. We didn't know any of those spaces, those people. And it was such an incredible journey in the history of civil rights from a Black woman's perspective. And I remember when we were in Selma, we're standing on the bridge and we're interviewing women whose mamas were on the bridge, right? The sun's going down. And I remember they were saying that when Fannie Lou Hamer, because, they organized before it was cool to be a Black woman.
Sure.
And when Fannie Lou Hamer, everyone looks at Bloody Sunday, or they look at, that testimony in Congress in isolation, but they don't recognize the totality of work and the number of prayers and the fervence that had to go into those events actually happening. And I remember her saying that when they were driving back and forth up and down those dark roads, that the prayer and the work was not for themselves. And it was not even for their children. It was for their children's children. It was intentional work, that what I'm doing now is to restructure the generations to come. That is us. That is us. They did that. Bloody Sunday was for us. You know what I'm saying? They saw us in this moment back then. And so now the mantle has been passed, and we have to think beyond how it's gonna affect us. We have to think about what our children are gonna be worried about, their children worrying about. And so, we've got to, one of the things that frustrates me a little bit in this space is that the recognition that where Black women are and what we have done to hold on to democracy, what we have done to hold on to civil liberties, that work that this country exists and survives because of us, right? And if you just listen to a Black woman, we gonna be right. Someone said today, I was talking to a Black woman, she's a global strategist, and she said, you know what happened the last time the United States didn't want to listen to a Black woman?
What?
Clarence Thomas.
Yeah. Yep.
Last time they tried to shut us down and shut us up, you got Clarence Thomas. And I was like, and this is coming from not an American. This came from a Nigerian woman who's like, she's like, I'm studying this. And all you need to do is just listen to what Black women say, because everyone will follow and win. The world don't like Black folks. The world don't like women. If you let Black women do what we know how to do, I promise you everybody gonna be good.
Well, there's this quote, and I love that. There's this quote. It's Angela Davis, and she essentially says something along the lines of, that Black women, because of the intersectional ways that we're oppressed, that we are experiencing disparities in so many levels of our lives, that when a door opens for a Black woman to have access to something, everybody ultimately is going to benefit, because it's just going to increase access to, even people who already have. So I think about that when I think about even like the calls, the Win with Black Women calls. Now you do have the Win with Black Men, and you do have the, all these other spin-off entities and these spin-off calls and these other Zooms, and these other organizing spaces. But it started with the Black print, or the blueprint of Black print.
Yeah.
The Black
I like that. That's a thing. Make that T-shirt.
Make that T-shirt.
Yeah,
we need that shirt too. By the time we get off, we might be at 5 T-shirts.
Right. Wait, can we do that though? Can we do an I'm a Black print T-shirt, Nadia?
Hold on. Look, I'm right. Look, this is how things get done too. Write it down, make it plain. Write it down, make it plain.
We just talked about having to fund the movement. We're gonna sell them T-shirts and fund the movement.
Hey, that's it. What do we say? Apply pressure. What was the other one?
See, we don't even
I'm
remember.
the Black print.
I put that. I'm the Black print. It was I'm the Black print. Apply pressure was the other one. If somebody else remember, they can put it in the chat. I can't remember real quick. We have to go back and listen to it. But yeah, we have all the T-shirts now. We're gonna we're gonna be organizing for a good long minute. We got a T-shirt for every day of the week.
That's it.
That part.
You're
right. We got to fund our own movement. We got to fund our own freedom. That's one of the beautiful things about Black Voters Matter. I want to lift up Black Voters Matter just for a hot second, because it's not just that you all fund and support y'all fund and support the crazy ideas. Y'all fund and support the contextualization of the organizing. Y'all take like community members, they ain't get along when they had other funding, because that funding requires you to compete in ways that are unhealthy and detrimental to our community. But y'all create a cohesive space, and then y'all don't, the barriers to receiving that money, it's like, no, just get your shit together.
That's it.
It is what it is.
Get together. And you know what I'm saying? And we'll help support that. And let's see if this works. Let's see if this, and you're okay with it reaching this group in particular, because we got these people over here working on this group. And so the way, it's not just the funding of the movement that's necessary. It's the acknowledgement, it's the legitimacy, it is the it's feeling prideful in thinking outside the box, because that is not something that traditionally Black folks get to do. And part of the reason why we haven't been able to advance as much as we could. And so I just want to say, Fenika, like, I'm just uplifting you all in the way, not just that you fund and support, it's the way that you all do it. That is really special.
Thank you, sister. I'm going to tell you, you ran down our 5 core beliefs. That is why, even knowing you before I came to this space, but feeling like I have landed in the space of my purpose, right? That we can center Black people, that we support, not swoop, that we make sure that we go through the existing infrastructure, the folks like a Nia Weeks and a No More Martyrs and an MSK, right? Because I was a partner with Black Voters Matter before I came on staff, and have a crazy vision to bring Black girls to the Capitol, and that's where I met you, right? And so trusting in those folks in communities who have authentic relationships, believing in the innovation of Black people, believing that we need to invest to build their capacity, and fully knowing, right, that the South, especially the South, is so underinvested in. I think it was less than 1% of all philanthropic dollars go to Black girls in the South, but you can magnify that, you can increase that number by for Black-led organizations. We're proud to have invested, over $15 million into over 300 grassroots organizations just this year, right? So that not only can they build their capacity all year long, but when it's time to show up, like right now in this moment for the rubber to hit the road, then they can take flight. And so yeah, thank you for lifting that up. And that is just a testament to the leadership and the vision of Cliff Albright, Latasha Brown, and April Albright as well. So
that's real. That's real.
And we're going to be all right, y'all. I can't even imagine a world or a South without Black Voters Matter in it. The work that we do and the work that our teams are able to do, every department is critical to the infrastructure, to building our own Black table, to keeping the movement, to making sure that our people are free. It is not just about an election. We want our people to be free, right? Yeah, we want them to be free.
And here's the thing I also appreciate about all of our organizations is the same kind of sentiment that you were sharing, Fenika, that's built into the mission of Black Voters Matters is grassroots and communities. Because the nonprofit sector, like I've lived in DC for a good minute and worked in nonprofit space there, and of course New York is another nonprofit mecca. Sometimes nonprofits can get to be these large entities, and they're run solely, like almost like a solely corporate type of thing, where it's the conversations are top heavy and the programming's only trickle down a little bit to the community. But when the conversations can start in the community, you realize the solutions are already on the ground, and the people who are pushing those solutions forward are people who are doing it without the language. You know what I'm saying? Like they're the ones who are just doing, they're like literally doing, they're so busy doing the work, they're so focused on who the work is impacting, they're so centered on their community that they're not using the language of grant reporting. They're not using the languages, their version and definitions of impact look different than the annual report that comes out and goes to a particular funder. I even think about, Nia, just a second ago when you were like, Nadia, you're listed as a producer. What you mean? You know what I'm saying? But here's the thing: Black women do that all the time. You can be on the ground doing the work and look up, and you're literally you're a consultant, you're an organizer, you're a community liaison, you're a program manager, you're a grant writer. You're literally a handful of different titles under one person who's just down in her community trying to do a thing, and you can't. Doing it all, and you can't find those people, you can't find us's, right? Unless you're in the community, you can't find it, and you only find it by relationship building, being there doing the work hand in hand, and word of mouth, and just like you just have to be there. We talk about all the time the work we do in the Black Belt. You can't come to Birmingham or come to Alabama, say you're going to go to the Black Belt, and not look up the Black Belt Community Foundation. Like, what are you doing? Like, how does that even work? Because if we're going to look at you like, who are you?
Yeah. Come on,
who
Felicia.
Are you?
Felicia, say her
right,
name.
Right? Yeah, you gotta look her up. You know her name. Like, you got, who are you? Who sent you? Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like, who are your people? Because, and again, this goes back to a certain level of trauma. How many times have people?
Who are your people? That's another shirt.
People, right? Who are your people? Because how many times has that happened?
I need to know.
Get in this chat. Who are your people?
I'm telling y'all, we get on Canva, and we got all 3 organizations fully funded. Done. I got it.
Because how many times has someone come into a community with ill intentions, focused on self, focused on the things that they can accomplish so that they can put a pretty report together that says, I came into the community, did this thing with $1,500 million, which only like 0.5% went actually in the community, and the rest of it went to pay the salary of people who came in here to do the, like, that stuff happens all the time. And the community's memory is long. They have a long memory. Like, who are you? Oh, you're with two. That there, I can say without naming any names, but I've worked with a lot of different places. I know
will
for
name
sure.
names.
I know you will name names, honey. I ain't gonna name no names. But, and these are not even, and I'm not even talking about other nonprofits, or I'm talking about different agencies, whether it's a university or government agency or what have you, like, or a nonprofit or a hospital or what have you. There are large entities that come into communities, do not do well with the community, and then leave, or come into the community, get the community's hopes up, finish whatever grant they're doing, finish whatever report they're doing, finish whatever research they're collecting, and leave, and the community never hears from them again. So if you come back in here and say, oh, yeah, we're doing this, that, and a third, we've worked with this person before, I've definitely heard community members say, well, we don't want to work with them anymore, and this is why. We don't want to do this with that group anymore, and this is why. And I think you have to, as any organizer, nonprofit organization, fund, or what have you, who is really trying to do intentional work with the community, make space for people to voice those kind of grievances, so that you can, if you have the ability to as an organization, rectify them, but also make sure you're going about your work differently, right? What does it look like to connect with the community? What does it look like to not to serve, but build with and grow with a community? Not to come in and say, oh, we're going to come in with these programs and this is what we're going to do for you, versus sit down and say, hey, what you need? What's it look like for you? Who you think should lead this up? Who's the person in your community who's already doing this? How can we support what they already got going on? What do you think's been done right? What do you think's not been done great? What are the things that you need to help grow what's already happening? Like those, that, and it's more time consuming.
Yes.
And we operate in a world that's so focused on productivity. What did you get done today? What did you get done today? What did you get done today? Organizing might be a whole day of conversation. Organizing might be having coffee at somebody's coffee shop, going over to someone's aunt's house, going over to somebody's small nonprofit that's in the basement of a church. It can look a lot of different ways. And if you look at your day and you're like, oh, I met with 3 people in the community, and productivity wise, it's like, well, what did that produce? It produced relationship.
That's it. Authentic relationships and supporting, not swooping. That's it.
Yes.
Hey.
So the wonderful woman, Maya, who owns this spa, this is her mother visiting from North Carolina. We know how critical North Carolina is.
Did you vote before you left?
I certainly did.
I love it.
So lovely, because we were having conversation last night. She's been in human resources and government and political space for, oh God, you're retired now.
47 years.
47 years.
Wow.
Right?
Love it.
And we were talking about, the ways and the backbones of the spaces that, organizing the spaces that have an impact on our lives. And the work that she's done, that creativity, that building, that making sure that the infrastructure is in place, all of that is the heartbeat of the work that we're fighting for. And so I want to bring her in, first of all, to say thank you, because one of the spaces I think that we have to acknowledge is the generation that's above us, that has done this work before it was cool, that was born without the right to vote. And so has understood what this space looks like without any footing on where, like we have. And so I want to acknowledge that and say thank you, and just breathe a little bit of hope into the space, because that's what she gave me last night. This conversation was going to be real different. Real different.
Well, I'm glad I impacted that.
And she did.
No, we was going to keep it up. But thank you so much for just who you are, for your vision, for creating that space, for embracing our sister and taking care of her and sewing into her. And so it is with much gratitude that we.
Oh, absolutely.
And we're going to make our way there.
Yes, that's exactly right. This is the most critical election I think I've ever lived through. I thought the President Obama race, when he won the election, was the most critical. And at that time it was, because that was important to happen in order for this to happen, with Kamala being able to run and be taken seriously. And I guess I feel like, because of where we come from, what we've been able to achieve and accomplish as a race in this country. A long ways to go because we have not arrived. We don't ever want young people like y'all to feel like we've arrived because we're a long ways from it. And, no matter what our beliefs are, our politics are, our positions are, we have to vote for Kamala Harris. It's a principle. And, we may not be, there may be some different views even within our space here for this election. The alternative is not what we want. And so we've got to do everything we can to make sure that Kamala gets in.
And I want to preface that by saying that we are all nonpartisan organizations.
Yeah, good.
You can't
So
tell.
this is an individual.
We want to
That
give
was-
that disclaimer.
Mhm.
That is an individual opinion.
That's exactly right. And I'm glad you said that.
Yes.
And I am an unaffiliated registered voter.
All right.
Okay.
Okay. And I appreciated. I appreciated the way you prefaced the comment, like regardless of party, regardless of literally regardless of any of those things, and then you made your statement. And I appreciated that because, and this is something that we were saying earlier, is the different types of groups that are coming out. And I'm seeing, and this is the first time I'm seeing this in my life, is I'm seeing more individuals who are not registered or affiliated with the Democratic Party stating that they're voting in a way that's more leaning towards the Democratic Party. I'm seeing for the first time. I've never seen Republicans for a Democratic candidate, but they've got whole organizations. I've never seen independents for this or I've not seen that kind of crossover. And I find it interesting. Like I've never seen that before. And I think that makes this election very different to me too. And some of the conversations I've heard conversations of individuals who are Republican, Democratic, Independent, whatever, saying similar things just in regards to policy, diplomacy, international presence. Like my family is not from the U.S. My family is Jamaican. So this whole idea of international presence and who do you want representing you to the world? I'm hearing different conversations. I think that's all very positive. I think it's all very positive.
Totally agree.
It is, and Maya's son is here. We have our children that, that are participating and being a part of this. And, I just appreciate the multi-generation that's surrounding me.
Yes.
I appreciate the transnational space that's surrounding me, that we're sitting in a space that somebody related to us was told they would never come back to. And that not only are we here, but we're thriving, right? We're building and we're, bringing our children back. And, but all of that comes with the possibility of the way that our generations before us have shown up in the U.S. and making sure that we're able to be here. And so as we're talking about people showing up on Tuesday, like I had said before, Nadia, showing up is your love letter to your grandchildren.
That's right.
Yes. It is that even if you may feel that your vote doesn't matter, you have to recognize that showing up does matter to the generations that are to come. If this generation never showed up and fought when it looked impossible, like I said, they were born without the right to vote.
Right.
So they were starting even lower than we are. And they brought us to this point. So I strongly feel that regardless, we can sit there and itch and be upset and frustrated and all the things. You don't have the right to sit home.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
You don't have the right to just not show up.
No way.
Because by not showing up, you're dismissing this and you're dismissing this. It's not about you.
That's right.
Yeah. It's not about you. This time, it's not about you. It's about what has happened before and what will happen after.
That's right.
Yeah.
And that is Black power building.
Yes.
Black power building. And there is no path to victory, to building a more progressive or sustainable country that does not include Black voters, all Black voters. And it is just that.
That's right. I
Absolutely.
appreciate what you ladies are doing. I was sitting here just listening and I'm thinking, wow, I'm glad this is happening because, our young women, our young African American men and women need to hear people like you all speaking out and speaking up and educating them. So this is wonderful.
Oh, thank you.
Thank
These
you.
are my sisters. Like we have been in the trenches together.
Awesome.
We did Fenika, we did a whole road trip. You know how did the Freedom Ride? We did the reverse Freedom.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, with Black voters. Nadia runs organization in Birmingham around Black women and mental health and suicide rates.
Wow.
And so as a community, it's like getting all the different pieces. It's a beautiful gumbo.
Right.
I'm from New Orleans.
Yeah, right.
So nice to meet you, ladies.
Nice to meet you. I can't wait to come there.
Yes.
Oh, yes. It's beautiful here, by the way. It really is. It's a great place to come. And y'all keep doing what you're doing.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
I had to call her in. I was like, come on in. Come on in. I love it. Also, I'm just putting a pin in it. I would love a 2026 March Black Women's Freedom Tour to Ghana.
Come on.
Tri-partnership, Black Voters Matter,
Women's, Black Women's, what you call it now?
I forgot.
Write it down.
Women's Freedom March or Freedom Flight to Ghana, because it can't be a march.
It has to be a flight. Freedom flight. Freedom
Voyage.
flight. Yes.
That's it.
All right.
It's happening.
So,
it's happening.
Hey, look, I'm telling you, I'm writing it down. This is why, us on us. We never get on a call. It always turns into something. It doesn't even have to be a call sometimes. It could be a group text and it's like, boom, program. Okay, set some dates to it. Okay, when we go on launching. Okay, boom, done. Like it's a wrap. So and done in excellence.
And done.
Period.
I love it. Period.
So I do want to mention a couple of quick things. First, Black voting matters to our mental health. If you go to our website, and this is for anybody who might be watching this or come back and watch it later. There's a lot of resources, including both of your organizations, Citizens She, Black Voters Matters, Black Women's Health Imperative, their health policy statement report, and all. There's a bunch of really great data there, information. Check your registration. Your registration is where to go vote. All of these things, you can get all of those resources by going to our website and clicking on voting matters for our mental health. All of those great resources. Another thing I want us to really keep in mind as we're headed to the polls in regards to mental health, specifically Black mental health and mental health equity, is to listen to all of the candidates. Listen to both candidates talk about mental health, and make your decisions from there. You'll see some mental health policy reports and policy information on the website as well. But I would encourage you to go back and just Google both of them, look at their comments, read their comments, and talk about and think through and listen to what they're saying they're going to do for mental health. And also listen to the language that they use when they speak about mental health. Because while I have not, spoken in depth on either candidate, I have mentioned a few things about how language can be discriminatory. And how the language of one candidate over another has been discriminatory. One has been inclusive, one has been exclusionary, one has been inequitable, one has been very equitable. So we really have to really think about that in regards to the mental health space, to think through and read through and understand each candidate's positioning on mental health and holistic health and healthcare access in general. That's across the board. When it comes to Black women as well, look at reproductive rights, look at maternal mortality rates, which is exceptionally high for Black women. Look at all of these things as you're thinking about the candidates that you're voting for. Make sure that you're the best informed voter that you can possibly be so that you can make a decision that's going to be truly representative of the things that are important to you. So make sure that you do that, do the work. Sometimes when you're busy with school, work, kids, life, commute, whatever, grocery shopping, laundry, whatever else you got going on, or organizing, whatever you're doing. It does seem like a lot to stay abreast of all of these things, which is why you have great organizations like the three of us, where you could tap into all of our websites and just get the data there. Like on each of our websites, there are data sets, there's reports, there's information, there's other resource links where you don't have to go and kind of find these things yourself. You can go to these websites, click on it, read it up for yourself, and then make a decision for yourself. So I do want to say that really quickly. And then I know I said, Fenika's like, oh, we're not going to be here for an hour. We're only going to be here for 30 minutes. But I told you sometimes these conversations go and they go exactly how they're supposed to be. So let's do this as we're closing out, because we were brainstorming this a little bit before we started. Do we want to have a voter, an election night watch party? What do we call it? The church
Yes, watch night
service.
Yes, because that's
yes.
Yep.
Because everything is on the ballot, and we need to call our people in.
Right.
Folks will need, some love and a mental health break and space to just be, to talk about the successes of the season. Us to be able to wrap our arms around them and reaffirm that regardless of the outcome of the election, we're going to be all right.
We're going to be all right. That's what we need to call it. We're going to be all right.
Forward. Yep.
Okay.
How do we chart our path moving forward?
All right. So we are going to, looks like that's something we're going to do. Looks like we're going to, between text and however we're going to do this, we're going to figure out a way of doing a watch night thing on election night, and make sure we have a safe space for people to log in and chat. And, the history, like you said, is going to be made one way or another on November 4th.
That's right.
5th.
Yep. Thank you, ma'am. I was like, wait a second. I was like, 4th doesn't sound right. 5th is, I was like, 4th is not right. It's November 5th on Tuesday. Yes. So, we're going to get this done. I appreciate y'all. Y'all have any last thoughts before we... Now, when I hit this end stream, don't jump off just yet. I'm going to ask y'all something real quick. We just shut it off for everybody else. But do y'all have any closing thoughts you'd like to leave with our social media family?
The only closing thought that I have is, I would like for folks to text words Black Bus to 25225 to stay connected, to get voting up-to-date information around voting, to have a link on your phone. So text Black Bus, BLACKBUS, to the number 25225, so that now through Election Day, you can stay tapped in. You don't have to have time to go to the website. You'll have it right at the tips of your fingertips, y'all. Is
it one word or 2 words?
One word. Put it all together. Black Bus.
Okay. 25225.
25225. Yep.
Okay, I'm putting it in the comments.
And I love you, sisters, very much for all that you do and all that you are. So,
same. Love you too. I will say, I think the thing that I would love to say is thank you. I want to say thank you to all the Black folks that have shown up in any way you've shown up. I want to thank you for having conversations. I want you to thank you for staying up late at night because your heart was unsettled, because you recognize that there's a disparity somewhere and you're trying to figure out how to make it all come together. I want to say thank you for having a conversation with your children. I want to say thank you for having conversations with your cousins. Thank you for having conversation with your mom and your daddy. Thank you so much. I'm going to say it preemptively. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for showing up for me. Thank you for showing up for all the women that are on here that are watching. Thank you showing up for your mothers and your fathers and your children. And thank you for showing up for the grandchildren and the descendants that are to come. I'm saying this preemptively. Thank you, thank you, thank you for loving yourself and loving us enough to just show up.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right, ladies, I appreciate you. Love you. Thank you for joining us. See you next. We're going to be on this next week. So we'll see y'all next week. All right. Bye.
Bye.